Now for cycling from the Tour of Perth.
Hello everyone, this is Matthew Keenan with you and welcome to the final event of Cycling Australia's National Road Series for 2009 as Australia's capital of the Golden West plays host to the Scody Tour de Perth. There's 4 stages of racing across 3 days showcasing all that Perth has to offer, with the criterium around the entertainment precinct of Northbridge, road races that take in Kings Park, the Swan River, Bold Park, and then culminating in a short but testing time trial to the summit of Rebold Hill. A tour sure to test the riders' all-round skills and find a quality winner.
The riders will really enjoy what I think will be nice speedy courses, but they're testing in their own rights. Even though they're around the Perth CBD, there's also some challenging climbs. We're really looking forward to some exciting racing.
The event has been run for many years. For 2009, it's been renewed with spectator-friendly courses, sponsors, and the all-important support from the City of Perth.
The final time trial as a final stage, I think, is a new initiative, and I think the Tour de Perth will go down to that final stage.
Men's and women's teams from across Australia have converged on Perth, including Goulburn to City Classic winner Richard Lang, Garmin Slipstream's latest signing Travis Meyer, and dual Olympic Games gold medalist Graham Brown, who now calls Perth home when he's not racing on the roads of Europe for the Rabobank team.
It's a great training area. I love it. Most of the time the weather's great, so I'm starting to call it home, I guess. I haven't done domestic racing in Australia for a good 10 years now, and it's changed a lot since then. There's a lot of teamwork, and it's really good to see for Australian cycling, and it's a great step forward.
The women's field is also a strong one, with Perth local and world Omnium champion Josephine Tomic starting as the sentimental favourite, while Ellen Van Dyke of the Columbia HTC team adds an international flavour to the race.
Oh, I really like it, especially the weather here, because in the Netherlands it's now cold and rainy, but the organization of the tour was very good, and yeah, I really like to stay here, yeah.
A fast and punishing start to the race with the criterium around the nightlife hub of Northbridge, a rectangular circuit taken in 2 city blocks. The women's event is over 30 minutes plus 3 laps, with the men going for 50 minutes plus 3 laps. Sally Robbins, the Olympic rower, now making her name on 2 wheels, and Track World Cup scratch race winner Belinda Goss are just 2 of the names to watch as the race unfolds. The women's race was a tightly controlled affair, with Josephine Tomic's Plan B team chasing down the breakaways. A big crowd on hand to enjoy the opening of the tour. The best seats in the house, in the restaurants and the cafes of Northbridge. The race all together coming into the closing laps until Plan B's Davina Summers put the herd on the peloton at the bell. But the result coming down to a sprint finish, with Holland's Ellen Van Dyke taking the win from Josephine Tomic and Kate Cullen of Scotland.
Yeah, it is a weird race for me because we used to do criteriums in the Netherlands, but they are almost 60 kilometers and this was only 30 minutes, so this was way shorter. So I didn't really know what to expect, but it was a tough race, yeah.
This is my home tour. I actually live about 500 metres up the road, so it's definitely my home circuit. I would have liked to get the win, but Ellen was too strong today.
Local hero Travis Meyer all business on the start line of the men's event, while budget forklift sprinter Richard Lang would be another rider to keep an eye on. From the gun, the pace was scorching, and by halfway, over half the fill had been lapped and withdrawn from the stage. Brad Hall of Plan B launched a brave solo move, only to be reeled in by the voracious peloton. Budget forklifts showed the teamwork that has brought them so much success throughout this year. Their riders on the front of the bunch trying to set up the win for Lang. But in the finale, experience triumphed over enthusiasm, with Graham Brown taking the sprint ahead of Travis Meyer, while Lang had to settle for 4th place. Brown receiving plenty of support in his newly adopted city as he prepares for the Tour Down Under, where he'll come up against the likes of Lance Armstrong and Cadel Evans. The general classification sees Brown with a slender 4-second lead over Travis Meyer and the budget forklifts pair of Doug Repacholi and Richard Lang in 3rd and 4th place respectively.
I would have liked to have made a little bit more of a convincing win, but I guess a win's a win, so I'm very happy. So I said before that I haven't raced a National Series race in Australia for probably 10 years, and a lot of things have changed. There's a lot of teamwork, which is great to see for Australian cycling and the development. And I think the next 2 days are going to be very hard.
And towards the end, Brad Hall, my teammate, managed to give me a lead out, and it worked out good. I was second into the bottom corner, but Brownie's a class act, and he comes stomping around me.
Stage 1 and time to take in the natural bushland beauty of Kings Park. The 9.5 kilometre circuit starts at the park entrance, down Thomas Street to the University of Western Australia, then follows the Swan River before returning to the urban jungle of the Perth city.
They're doing 10 laps.
In the women's race across 95 kilometres, Ruth Corset of the Australian Institute of Sport broke away from the 28-strong peloton. On lap 3 of 10 and before long, she'd built up a lead in excess of 4 minutes. Corset proving that her strong showing at the World Championships was no fluke, staying away from the pursuing group for more than 60 kilometres. Looking strong to the end, she crossed the line with a 4-minute and 22-second buffer on Ellen Van Dyke and Belinda Goss, who did battle for the minor placings.
Didn't plan to break away that early. I just thought I'd test my legs on the first QOM and made a bit of an attack and thought someone would come with me. It was hard out there on my own, but yeah, I just kept a good steady pace and kept increasing the time gap.
Yeah, Ruth attacked, and I think a few people tried to go with her, but no one could really stay with her. She's just too strong.
Corset with her win, she goes to the top of the general classification with a huge advantage over Van Dyke and Goss, who along with the rest of the peloton have got a lot of work to do to try and close down the gap. A strong field waiting to get underway for the opening road stage of this year's race. One of the teams to watch, Budget Forklifts.
Yeah, we'll put together a good team this week. We've got Wormy, Mick England, Peter Hertzik. This course will definitely suit them. Sort of got a nice tough climb with a nice big crosswind at the top, and yeah, it's really fast around the back, so it'll be interesting to see how the race plays out today.
Graham Brown, after taking out the win in the Criterium, starts the first road stage in the leader's jersey, enjoying himself, getting the chance to race here in Perth. It's a rare opportunity for him with his wife, Hayley Rutherford, herself a former Australian champion, hailing from Perth. The peloton making their way along the Swan River. Perth certainly is one of the most beautiful places to ride your bike in Australia, and it's a good place to commute to work as well. You wouldn't want to be doing it at the pace of the Plan B team. They're one of the development squads from Perth, and they're bringing on many of the rising stars of not just Western Australian cycling, but Australian cycling indeed, particularly with the Meyer brothers, and Travis Meyer is one of the men in that squad to watch. 6 riders broke away early. Michael England and Brad Hall managed to get themselves into that breakaway group. Then, just as they were approaching the first King of the Mountains point, the peloton came back together, but Brad Hall still had the legs to fight on and try and take the points. The opening battle for the King of the Mountains jersey in this year's race. Hall had his work cut out as he made his way towards the top of the climb. Peter Hertzik was up there amongst it as well doing battle, but Hall it was that got the points, one of the local favourites. Hall, built more like a sprinter than a climber, shortly thereafter found himself safely ensconced back in the main peloton. We then saw 3 riders break away from the field, with Michael England, Elliot Wells and also Rowan Dever making their way off the head of the race. They managed to build themselves up a lead of just 20 seconds over the peloton that weren't too keen on allowing them to build up much of an advantage. The 3 leaders working well together, with England from the Budget Forklifts team playing the defensive role because he's got some cards to play back in the main peloton. The leading group of 3 making their way past the old Swan Brewery, which has been refurbished and is also one of the great tourist attractions of Perth. Elliot Wells taking the opportunity to get in the breakaway group, so too Rowan Dever, just seeing whether they can sneak under the radar of some of the bigger names back in the main peloton. It wasn't to happen. They did get caught by the main field, and once again, as soon as they were reeled back in, it was the Budget Forklifts team that was trying to make some of the moves. Peter Herzig it was that broke away from the budget forklift squad. He's one of the more experienced members of the team as they try and balance the youth and the experience, and they bring through some of the rising stars of Australian cycling. Graham Brown in the green leaders jersey sitting up towards the front of the peloton in third place. He's marking all the moves. He knows that he's going to be one of the most watched men in this race. Well, MC Hammer, he was down here as well, and it's Hammer time in Perth also. Somebody's not enjoying themselves. They've got a bike for sale. Might want to put a mobile phone number on there as well. Herzig was then joined by a larger group as they made their way across, but none of the big favourites for this year's Tour de Perth were represented in this breakaway group. And as you could see, there was a little bit of a lack of cohesion as they couldn't quite get themselves organised. There was no big head of state that could really drive the breakaway group to see whether they could survive from the main peloton. Herzig was still in that group, but as you could hear from out on the road, they were having the discussion to see who could get the group rolling in the hope that they would be able to hold off the likes of Meyer and Brown, who were still patiently waiting back in that main field. Each member in the breakaway group looked as if they were trying to get the easy ride, which meant that nobody was really doing the main work at the front of the group, and they couldn't quite get themselves organised. They did have a few positive moments, however. When Peter Herzig came to the front from the budget forklifts team, he tried to get them organised, but as you could see, they couldn't quite follow the lead that was being set by Peter Herzig. Nobody prepared to really come through to the front and give the breakaway group every possible chance to try and survive. As they continued to play with the opportunity to win the stage, they let it slip through their fingers. Eventually they were caught by the main peloton. We then came on to the final King of the Mountains point of the race. It was budget forklifts once again showing themselves at the front. It was Cameron Jennings, or as Richard Lang referred to him as the Worm, and he got the points on this King of the Mountains climb. He's a strong climber. He's been a stage winner in the past at the Jayco Herald Sun Tour and showing all his experience as he goes across the top to get the King of the Mountains points, and then they were on to the final lap to do battle to see who would win the opening road stage. Team tactics coming into play as the peloton is all together. The budget forklifts team trying to set up the stage for their man Richard Lang. Plan B looking to see whether they could deliver Travis Meyer to the line, one of the local favourites. And Graham Brown waiting patiently in the green leaders jersey. He got the lead out from his teammate Mike Fitzgerald, and it was Brown that made the move, but then Lang went across the top of him in the budget forklifts colours. Brown trying desperately to hold on to the wheel of Lang. Lang about to fade, but he finds a little bit extra as he kicks once again. He holds off the dual Olympic Games gold medalist. Lang going on to take out the stage win. Travis Meyer it was that was in second place. Thompson was in third. Brown had to settle for fourth. But it was Richard Lang of the budget forklifts team that took out the stage. His teammates on hand to celebrate with him.
Yeah, definitely stoked. I thought today's course might be a bit too hard for myself. So like I said at the start of the day, Mick England was probably the man. And I was letting him out in the final sprint, sort of with about 250 to go. I thought, oh, this is early. But yeah, I had Mick on my wheel and I don't know, just managed to hold him off.
Despite the stage win, Richard Lang hasn't quite done enough to take the leader's jersey. It's Travis Meyer at the top of the general classification, Lang in second position and Graham Brown in third, but just 2 seconds separates the top three. And there's your two race leaders, Travis Meyer and Ruth Corset.
Yeah, very happy. I managed to get through the stage pretty good today and managed to distance Brownie, so I think I got about 2 seconds on him, but you know, it's going to be hard to hold on to, but I think I got the legs to do it.
2 stages down, 2 stages to go. Stay with us for the Scody Tour de Perth.
This week on Dateline.
G'day, we're here in wonderful, wonderful Copenhagen ahead of the long-awaited UN Summit on Climate Change. It's been billed as the most important international gathering in human history. But now, after all the hype, the world is asking, what, if anything, of substance can it really achieve?
You could call it a dream, but I don't think that there is any sustainable alternative after all this pressure.
Dateline, tonight, 8:30 on SBS 1.
So you don't have to rush. more branches are open longer during Christmas.
Christmas is a time for family and friends.
Joey, who lives in England, I really miss her.
There's Joe, then there's Frank.
Tom and Mary Lou in Montreal.
Friends are exactly like family to me.
This Christmas, win a dinner with friends you'll never forget. Cisco Tally Presents can bring you and your mates face to face without having to travel place to place.
So what's Christmas like in New York? Gosh,
That's Christmas in high definition, and the champagne's on us. Cisco, welcome to the Human Network.
Day 3 of the Scody Tour to Perth, and the race moves to Bold Park Conservation Reserve. Within the park, Rebold Hill will make an appearance in the final 2 stages. Firstly, for the King of the Mountains competition on stage 2, and then the final stage, the individual time trial. Let's take a look at the course for stage 2. The first half goes via Oceanic Drive, where the battle for the sprint classification will be fought. Then the race is diverted up Rebold Hill for the short but demanding King of the Mountains competition.
Yesterday was a really tough day. I think if you look at the results, you can tell, there's time gaps everywhere. So I think today's going to be another tough day. The finish is right at the start of the circuit, so it's not going to be the same sort of result as yesterday. But I just did a lap of the climb. I haven't been up there before. It's a big one. It's almost identical to the Belgian climbs I do most of the year. So I guess my point of view, I've got a slight advantage. I know what I've got to do, and I've got a few guys in the team that have raced over in Belgium, so it's very technical.
But first to the women's race, and Ruth Corset was showing no signs of tiredness from her previous day's effort, once again going on the attack early. No one could go with her on the climb of Rebold Hill, and she soon turned her lead into a 2-minute advantage. Davina Summers and Melissa Hoskins of the Plan B team were active at the front of the peloton, but Corset proving herself to be in another league, adding 2 minutes and 35 seconds to her overall lead. Travis Meyer in the leader's jersey. He's got a slender 2-second lead over Richard Lang and Graham Brown. We heard from Graham Brown earlier, and he said that part of the course reminds him of racing in Belgium. Well, Graham, I'm sure that you'd enjoy the weather here a lot more than what you do in Belgium. It's 25 degrees and there's just a light southwesterly breeze, not too much to worry about. The Fremantle doctor won't be called upon today either. The peloton stayed all together in the early part of the race before the aggression really started in earnest, as they did their 6 laps that included Oceanic Drive and the battle to try and get those points in the sprint classification. If there was a most aggressive award in this year's Scody Tour to Perth, it would most definitely have to go to Peter Herzig of the Budget Forklifts team. Also joining him in the breakaway group, Ben Curtin, Elliot Wells, who's in the move for the second time, and 2 teammates, Carl Evans and Luke Joyce, rounding out the breakaway group of 5. A lot more organised than the breakaway that we saw on stage 1. They managed to continue to work as they stayed off the front of the main peloton, who was starting to get anxious and looking to try and reel them in and see who it would be that would take out the stage. And this is the penultimate stage with the time trial to come in the afternoon. The breakaway group well and truly got themselves organised. Ben Curtin prepared to do plenty of the work. Meanwhile, back in the main peloton, it's the Plan B teammates of Travis Meyer that are doing all the chasing. The breakaway at one point getting out to an advantage of 1 minute and 10 seconds. Not too much concern for Meyer as they make their way off the circuits the early part of the race and start to head towards the major difficulty of the day when they'll be heading up the climb of Rebold Hill. On the climb itself, and Ben Curtin finding the going just a fraction too tough. As they made their way towards the top, however, it was Elliot Wells that was looking to try and secure himself some more points in the race for the King of the Mountains jersey. Evans responding, Herzig was there as well. They went across the top. They still had an advantage over that main peloton, with the likes of Meyer, Lang and Brown waiting for their opportunity. Adam Semple it was that led the main peloton across the top of the climb, one of the rising stars of Australian cycling, hailing from Western Australia, as the rest of the peloton just trying to hold on. One of the men in there amongst it, Leon Vogels in the Fly V Australia colours, one of the famous names from Western Australia. The breakaway group now starting to get whittled down. It's just Herzig, Evans and Wells managed to survive. They've shed themselves of two of the other riders that were in that breakaway group. The going starting to become a little bit tough for Wells and Evans. Herzig continues to show that motivation that's put him in all the breakaway groups so far in this year's race. Wells it is from the Plan B team that's making a move. Evans is there at the back of the group as well, still looking relatively strong. It's an interesting position for Wells because he's a teammate of Travis Meyer. He's been given the free hand to go off in this breakaway group. It puts Plan B in such a strong position as they've got two cards to play. Wells and Herzig were eventually dropped as Evans went on his own. He was shortly thereafter caught by Nick Aiken, who's in outstanding form after having finished as the winner of the Best Young Rider classification at the Jayco Herald Sun Tour. Aiken with plenty of fresh legs coming towards the fore. Evans just trying to hold on. You can see that he doesn't have too much to offer, and Nick Aiken is starting to get a sniff of victory in his nostrils. The main peloton are starting to breathe down their neck as well. As you can see, Evans, after having been in the breakaway all day, is starting to struggle as he's sitting on the wheel of the young rider from Leongatha. Aiken, not a challenger in the general classification, just on the hunt for stage victories. The peloton breathing down his neck. Aiken realises that there's no time to play cat and mouse. He leads the sprint out from a long way from home and proves himself to be simply too strong. The battle was then on for the minor places, the all-important time bonuses for third. Brown and Lang doing battle, and it was the Olympic Games gold medalist Brown that got the nod just ahead of Lang, and enough to move him into the lead of the general classification. But the winner of the stage, Nick Aiken.
Yeah, I was lucky there. Just over the top of the hill, I had some good, felt I had some good legs and was able to hit him over the top, and no one went with me, and I joined up with the guy who'd been in the break all day, and we were lucky enough to hold on and just get over at the end, yeah.
Meyer loses the leader's jersey. That goes across to the shoulders of Graham Brown, but the difference is a slender 2 seconds.
I tried to jump Graham Brown and I did jump him, but I went to the right and it was probably a bad move because the guys that were leading out, which were my teammates, obviously moved to the right and then had nowhere to go, and by the time I backed out it was too late.
Graham Brown moves to the top of the general classification, but it's a mere 2 seconds his advantage over Travis Meyer. Richard Lang is in third place at 4 seconds. Peter Thompson in fourth, and Brad Hall rounds out the top 5. Just the time trial to come. Join us after this for the test of truth in the Scody Tour de Perth.
His cargo was stolen.
What was it carrying?
6 tons of ammonium nitrate.
In the series final, the race is on to stop a terrorist attack.
You're going to go to heaven for murdering people?
They've never accepted us here.
Nominated for 5 AFI awards.
What you teach is offensive. What do you know, Ashia?
Malik's faith is put to the test.
I hope you know what you're doing.
And his life is on the line.
Drop it! Drop it! Go on, ambulance! Go on, ambulance!
Don't miss the explosive series final, East-West 101, Tuesday at 8:30.
For 27 years, Spare Parts Puppet Theatre has been entertaining and inspiring the kids of WA. Together, we've made thousands of puppets, and we've got into the record books. Making puppets with kids is it's really inspiring. Sometimes a child has this crazy idea. You get to see them build something, and these beautiful characters just come out of nowhere.
It gave me such a sense of fun and play and imagination and confidence, which I think is such a valuable skill for life.
The Australian Theatre for Young People is calling on you to get involved. We don't just make great theatre. We're about creating great opportunities. We're a place to make friends, try crazy stuff and develop life skills. Watch your story. Get involved. Get yourself to atyp.com.au.
Welcome back to the Scody Tour de Perth as Davina Summers from the Plan B team prepares for the final individual time trial. The rest of the riders anxiously awaiting the race against the clock. The 5 kilometre time trial will truly test the rider's ability against the clock as it finishes at the top of the gruelling Riebold Hill, the highest natural point on the Swan Coastal Plain. Alan van Dijk of the Netherlands, who rides with the strong Columbia HTC squad, getting out on the course for the 5 kilometre individual time trial. She's got a strong record. She's been a world champion on the track in the past, and she is good against the clock. She managed to get around the course in a time of 7 minutes and 32 seconds. But was it going to be enough to get the better of Ruth Corset? Corset, who finished 12th at the World Championships earlier on in the season in Mendrisio, has dominated this year's Scody Tour de Perth, and it was the same once again in the individual time trial. The time of Van Dijk was the one to beat, and Corset managed to get there. She was 2 seconds faster, winning with a time of 7 minutes and 30 seconds. A dominant performance by Ruth Corset, 3 stage wins as well as the general classification.
It was a good weekend. I didn't expect to win the time trial at the end. My legs were pretty sore from riding solo the last 2 days, but I think the time trial course really suited me. It had a good climb at the end, finished on the top of a hill, so yeah, that really suited me.
Brad Hall starting the day in 5th place in the general classification. A good ride against the clock in the individual time trial might be enough to move him up towards the podium. He went across the line with a quick time of 6 minutes and 33 seconds. The rest of the favourites, they now know the time that they need to beat to win the stage and hold on to their positions. Hall could not be accused of leaving anything out on the road. Graham Brown, who started the stage with a 2-second buffer over Travis Meyer. He's been strong over 4 kilometres on the track. He's won Olympic Games gold medal and set a world record in the team's pursuit. He's now on his own as he makes his way up the climb. This isn't his favoured territory. He's one of the fastest men of world cycling when it comes to sprint finishes. But against the clock, the question mark was out. Was he going to be good enough to claw back the 2 seconds on Travis Meyer? Brown goes across the line with a time of 6 minutes and 40 seconds.
And Travis Meyer runs away.
Travis Meyer starting the final time trial knowing that he needs to make up just 2 seconds to take the general classification. He's a strong individual time trialist. His brother was a bronze medalist at the World Championships at under 23 level. Travis is going to be joining the older brother Cameron at Garmin Slipstream in season 2010. One of the most promising rising stars of Australian cycling. Makes his way up the climb. He's also looking to try and get himself the stage victory. Hall with the time to beat of 6 minutes and 33 seconds. As Travis Meyer was making his way through towards the finish, it was clear that he was going to get the better of Graham Brown. But was he going to do enough to win the stage and the general classification? He went across the line with a time of 6 minutes and 28 seconds. Was 5 faster than Brad Hall, but was Richard Lang going to be able to get the better of him? The New South Welshman riding for the budget forklifts team. His teammates have offered him so much support throughout the Scody Tour de Perth. Was he going to be capable of taking out the general classification? An Australian champion on the track, it's not the sort of territory that suits him when he got onto the climb of Rebold Hill. A little bit like Graham Brown, he likes the track, he's a fast finisher, the climbing's not his forte. But he fights on gallantly as he makes his way through towards the line. Travis Meyer with the time to beat of 6 minutes and 28 seconds. Lang, as it turned out, wasn't quite able to do enough. He went across the line with the 5th best time, 6 minutes and 43 seconds. And it was Travis Meyer that, in addition to winning the stage, takes out the general classification.
Oh, I like that. You wanted that.
Plan B, they worked well by supporting Travis Meyer, and he delivered the result for them, taking out the win before he moves across to Garmin Slipstream for season 2010, a name we're going to have to get used to. Travis Meyer, the winner, by 10 seconds ahead of Graham Brown. Richard Lang in 3rd, Bradley Hall moved up to 4th, and Peter Thompson rounded out the top 5.
Very happy, actually. It was an extremely tough time trial to finish off. Felt like a headwind the whole way around, and Oceanic Drive was so hard. But yeah, I'm really happy to come away with the win today.
What's it mean to win here on your home turf?
Yeah, fantastic. I was just thrilled to be in WA and not have any other racing to do, so I got to do the Tour de Perth this year, and to win the biggest race in Perth is just fantastic.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I've only put in 2 weeks of training and had 5 weeks off, so I'm very happy with 2nd place. Travis Meyer's training really well. I do a bit of riding with him here, and he's a bit of a time trial specialist, so I'm happy that I was close enough at the finish.
The top 3 in the men's classification, the winner of the race, Travis Meyer, flanked by Graham Brown and also Richard Lang. And of course, we couldn't forget Ruth Corset, who dominated the women's event in this reinvigorated Scody Tour de Perth. This is Matt Keenan on behalf of all the crew saying bye for now.